Alright, boys and girls, it's time to make a real guide about a real class, the most overpowered class in Allods, the Bard. And not just any Bard, Bard support. Let's go! Let's go, baby! Okay, so after that cringy intro, let's start. So I'm gonna try to be a bit faster and like go through things pretty fast this time, and I will focus more on some gameplay. I have a 3 versus 3 clip where I play Bard, which I will commentate on my mistakes and what I did well, and you guys can try to add that to your gameplay. So let's start. So for stats, these stats and this build I'm talking about now is a defensive Bard. The only place where you want to play offensive Bard or do damage is in 3 versus 3. So this build I used for some fights in Champion Dominion. So you put all your stats in Vitality, and then you go something like 250 crit damage, 250 DA, and then 300 plus Swiftness, and do your standard 250 serve and 600 caution. Right, so for the talents, you just take, you're not supposed to do any damage, so just take whatever you want here. Tempo is your class resource and is generated by this ability, Dissonance. So dissonance is like this. Just play your guitar, do some damage, and then you see you can that I refill my tempo. And what do you spend your tempo on? It's Dancing Blade. So I have an add-on which makes me cancel my Dancing Blade. So every time I press my Dancing Blade, you can see it instantly interrupts. How to set up this add-on? It's really simple. Let me show you. Is you're in your add-ons folder, you open up your, it's an add-on called Dancing Sword Stop Casting. You can get it on Allods Pro website. Script main. Then you have to change, it says it's spell name, Dancing Blade. You have to change this one to Dancing Blade, and then it will work. And then we take rank 3 of Crushing Throw. It's a 3-second blind with only 25-second cooldown, so it's a really short cooldown. Take rank 3 Lullaby. It's a sleep. All the CCs I will show later in the guide, so don't worry guys. Rank 3 Aspect of Support. Rank 3 Romance. It's a pull, like you pull the enemy towards you. Rank 1 Bloodthirst is enough. Rank 3 Temporal Acceleration. So what this one does is that you apply Temporal Acceleration, and every time you use Dancing Blade, you refresh the duration of Temporal Acceleration. And TA is maybe the most famous buff in this patch, because you increases your party members' movement speed. But also the huge thing here, the huge deal about TA is that it reduces the overall global cooldown. So people can spam abilities faster and deal more DPS. Because Allods feels really slow without TA, and TA is like a must-have for PvP and for PvE. Resonance Barrier. It returns 30% of the incoming damage to the enemy, and it also heals you for the same amount it returns, so it's pretty decent. However, keep in mind that the 30% damage reduction is only applied to the Bard himself. So even though we have rubies, so it makes the Resonance Barrier go to your whole party, it won't affect them. They only get the heal and the damage reflect, but they don't get the damage reduction. So that's why in 3 versus 3 you only want to spam this when the enemy is focusing you, in 6 versus 6 or Dominion or BGs, you want to spam it permanently because it's a pretty huge damage factor, really, and a pretty decent heal. Right. Rank 3 Courage. So Courage is the same type of buff like Temporal Acceleration. When you pop Courage, you also get a buff, and it reduces the duration of control effects on you by 25%. It's pretty huge, and we refresh it by using Resonance Barrier. Then we have Overture. Overture is one of the most important abilities for Bard. You dispel the enemy. Basically, what a dispel is that you remove an effect from your enemy. And that's so important, guys. Like, dispelling as a Bard is your main priority. But what it requires is that you know what you are going to dispel. You have to know which buffs you're looking for on a particular enemy to dispel them. And I will talk more about Dispel later in the guide. And I will also add all the buffs and debuffs you should be looking out for as a Bard. Okay, then we have Dance of Shadows, and this is a really strong ability right now. It's super good in 3 vs 3 and 6 vs 6 and even PV. When you have to cast it, you channel it, but all your party gets what is it? It's a 50% chance to dodge, but it's increased even more with the rubies. So with the rubies, you're talking like 70-80% chance to dodge. Like, it's so big. So you can save your teammates with this one, and you don't even have to target your party member to save them. It's party-wide, so don't care about switching targets or anything. Just use it, and you might save your teammates. Then we have Expression. It's an AoE. 20, I think it's 20 yard range, so it's a huge AoE. 4-minute cooldown. It deals pretty good damage, but the big thing here is it applies an AoE blind. Super strong AoE blind. Entree. It's you cast it for a few seconds, and then you teleport to where your cursor is. Then you play, and all enemies within the area of this yellow thingy is stunned. So it's also a very nice CC utility tool. And then for the rubies, basically we skip all the damage rubies and we take this one. It's a really important spell as well, AoE Dispel. So you have your single target Dispel with the Overture, and your second Dispel with the AoE Dispel. More damage. Makes your Romance knock down your target for 2.5 seconds, really nice. Cast time reduced. Reduce the cooldown of the blind by 50%, which makes it really strong. And this one's super important, makes you able to spam your sleep, your lullaby, and it has no cast time. Reduce so you can move while casting. Sonata is really important. So firstly you have to dispel your enemies, but secondly you can also Puree your allies. And well, what I mean by Puree is to remove a negative effect from your allies. So for that you have Sonata, and also one other spell on the next remove grid here called Encouraging Surge. Sonata is able to remove a CC from your allies. Same is Encouraging Surge. Sonata is an ability which has 1 minute cooldown, so use it wisely. And after you use it, you also get a buff which removes negative effects for 4 seconds as well. So it's pretty strong. Encouraging Surge is applied after you use your Courage, and it is applied for 5 seconds, and then you get an immunity of 20 seconds. Encouraging Surge makes you immune to all bad control effects. Okay. Yeah, that's about it for this page. here I take this one, so it makes when you use Romance on an enemy, all enemies around the target gets knocked down as well. Pretty decent in large scale PvP. I would skip those if you lack rubies. Okay, so on this page you basically take everything. This one is pretty interesting. It you can buff your allies and increase their damage if their HP is above 70%, or you can use it on an enemy and reduce their damage as long as their HP is above 70%. So this one is a pretty huge game changer for Bard, and it's a new spell we got with the patch. Okay, so there's one major thing that just came to my mind that I didn't talk about, and that is rhythms. What is a rhythm? So you see all these rubies here, that one. All those rubies, they increase the duration of something called rhythms. And rhythms are very important for a bard. Because after you use your temporal acceleration, you get a rhythm. Temporal acceleration. And it lasts for it's dependent of how many rubies you take for your rhythms and also your crit damage. And this buff basically lets you refresh TA. And that's why, and this buff is what can make you keep up TA for as long as you need it until TA is back on cooldown. And the same goes for courage. For courage you also get a rhythm. And when you have the rhythm you can refresh courage. And for courage you have to refresh it with resistance barrier and temporal acceleration. You refresh with your dancing blade. Alternative can be flying blade. If you want to go flying blade build, for instance, in 3 vs 3, if you want to deal some damage. Yeah. So take everything here. Encouraging Surge. This one is also pretty important. It's the same kind of buff as Encouraging Surge, but it's applied when you pop your Bloodthirst. So what you can do is that you always pop Bloodthirst first, and then you pop Courage. So then you will have both Encouraging Surge, the CC immunity, and you will have Invigorating Surge, which is a heal increase. So all your party members take double heals. Really important. Here as well, these ones are also very important. Your Overture and Burial Elegy. And every time you dispel something from your enemy, they get a random debuff. Pretty huge. And this one is super important. Makes you able to dispel more negative effects from the target in one dispel. Sometimes there are like multiple things you have to dispel. That's why we take these ones. Okay guys, and we come to the more interesting stuff. Now we're gonna like really focus on how to play Bard, because the build is only one thing. What makes or breaks a Bard is his game knowledge. And I'm not saying that I'm a good Bard myself. I'm not a good Bard compared to the best ones. But I main Bard in the last patch with some pretty good success in 3 vs 3. So I kinda know what I'm talking about, so don't judge me there. But I'm not a Bard main by any means. So firstly, what I'm gonna show you now are the CCs, the Cece Combos, and also talk about something called Diminishing Returns, for short DR. So when I'm talking about DR, it's called Diminishing Returns. I'm gonna show you what DR means now. It's related to CCs. So if you have the artifact like Superior Warfare, he has Unity Triquetrum, rank 5. says duration of all tenacity effects is increased by 100%. What this means is that if I apply, let's say, a blind to Superior Wolf here, and I apply a blind to him again within a short amount of time, the second blind will get DR'd. It will get reduced. I'll show you that now. So you can see Crushing Throw is supposed to last 3 seconds, so you can't see because of my webcam, but it's supposed to last 3 seconds. First here I apply my expression to him. It's a 5-second disorientation. This one is supposed to last 3 seconds. Only lasts for 2 seconds. So for every time a DR is applied, duration gets reduced. That can happen 3 times, and then the target gets immune to that type of CC. Let's see if I can trigger the immunity here. You see how short that was? And when I apply it again now, he's gonna get an immunity for blinds. And the time between each CC to get the full duration of a blind again, you have to wait 40 seconds with the artifact. 40 seconds. It used to be 20 seconds, now it's 40 seconds. See, now he got... now he was totally immune to it. Alright, so what Cece Combos can you make? There's a lot of Cece Combos that you can do. But firstly you have to make up your mind. Do you want to play with Deterrence, which is 4-second fear? Or do you want to play with... let's see where it is here. It's the other ratio. It's called Faltric. So you can play with either Faltric or with Deterrence based on your playstyle. I like to play with Flash to have some more mobility, but then I have to skip the Summoner Fear. If you play with the Summoner Fear, you should play with Faltric, and Faltric is very very OP because it's a 6-second silence. I can show you here. 6 seconds helplessness. Super nice, especially on healers. So, but what you can do with Flash, however, is you can do like this. So, I pull Superior Wolf with my Romance, then I turn around and I flash, and then he gets a super super long pull. It's pretty nice, and you can do that to the enemy healer, and then he won't be able to heal his DPS, and the DPS might die. Like another CC trick you can do is to pull someone with Romance and instantly blind them on the way, and he will just run around like a crazy guy and then get knocked down. It's pretty nice. And they can like run far away, so it's a pretty nice bug to know. And then Deterrence, that it's your racial fear. I just like to play with Deterrence because you have 40 yards range compared to Faltric, which is melee range. But if you're gonna play with Faltric, I would advise you to first use Romance and then use Faltric afterwards, because then you know your target is in melee range. And then lastly we have Lullaby, and the most important CC of them all. It's a sleep, but if I damage him, the sleep will break. So you will see in the 3 vs 3 video later how much I'm using the sleep, and I always try to sleep either the bard or the healer. Like I always cycle the sleeps between 2 targets in 3 vs 3. So let's say we're focusing the DPS, then I will sleep the bard, always the bard first, and also sleep the healer. And just to show you like how long you can keep somebody CC'd, let's say we start with the sleep. Now it was DR'd, there's no problem. Go Romance into blind, so he's running around like a monkey. and he gets knocked down. I'm watching here, and then I fear him. And then instantly after that I pop Expression. And we can start casting Entree, and then go Entree on top of them. And then the sleep will be back on cooldown. But now it's gonna be DR'd for like crazy. See now? It was like nothing. See? Now it didn't work, because he was DR'd. Alright, that's it for the CCs. And I hope you learn what DR is now. If you have any more questions about DR, just ask me. I will try to explain it again. Alright, so now I'm gonna try to do some commentary on the 3 vs 3 I chose to include here. So this was a training fight I recorded against Ney, Sophie and Penance. I would say Sophie is probably the best bard in the game, so there's no... it's pretty tough competition. So what I want you to pay attention to now is the buff announce target add-on, the HP. Like you see, notice how I slept Sophie there, and notice all the buffs on the buff announce. Like when I play bard, I almost always watch the buff announce HP bars all the time, because I have all the important information I need there. I have what I need to dispel, I have if they're CC'd, and also I see what Sophie is buffing with Encouraging Surge, and also which target has Blood Aegis from the summoner. So it's like I'm trying to dispel as often as I can the Blood Aegis, which most of the times is on Ney. And I want to CC Penance at the right time for Pygmy to get the kill on Ney. That was the strategy we had for this fight. That was a horrible entree. I think never use entree unless you're certain you'll get all 3. If you use entree and they manage to, like one of them is outside, then they can easily interrupt your entree by just one CC. Another thing I saw there, that was a mistake to CC Penance there. But he martyred, I think. Yeah, it was a mistake. In general, you don't want to waste your CCs on a target that is when they're all at high HP. Like there's no point CCing when you don't have a kill potential. You want to CC when one of the enemies are dropping low. So let's see if I can spot a place where there was a kill potential and it was a good CC. So keep noticing how I'm switching targets almost all the time between Ney and Penance. You have to be really fast with your target switching. I slept Sophie and he instantly martyred. So and Sophie is really good. He's saving his Encouraging Surge for when Penance calls for it. So if you notice, every time Ney is dropping low and Penance is CC'd, he would always call for like anti-CC, and then Sophie will use Encouraging Surge to break the CC. Like, look how often I switch targets. I'm not staying on one target for more than a few seconds at a time. Oh, I'm really low there. So yeah, Flower used a good talisman on me, which is the healer tear spell, to try to reset. What I was also trying to do this fight, which I kinda succeeded at, was to loss for short. It's called Line of Sight. Nay. Okay, I martyred the Wild Hunter. I think I had to do it. and then right after after a Wild Hunt, you want to instantly Sonata to dispel your teammates out of the Wild Hunt. So that was a really nice CC. He's slow, Nay is slow. They're both they're in danger. That's when you want to CC. So now I'm line of sighting Nay, so he can't reach me, he can't see me. But the problem here is I can't keep up TA because I have nothing to hit. Okay, TA is up again, all good. But I can't dispel Blood Aegis from here. Just trying to like be a pussy and hide behind. But the difficulty is to have your healer with you when you're like kiting like a crazy. So now they switch to Flower. I'm dispelling Nay. It's really low, and Penance use a good Veiler. So Encouraging Surge is up because I guess Penance asked for it. Okay, so I untrade on top of Penance. I didn't get all of them, but it's a huge kill potential on Penance because I know he doesn't have Martyr. And I dispel his Blood Aegis, and Pygmy gets the kill there. But unfortunately, Flower dies as well. And then for some reason we decided to focus on Sophie because it was so low. But then Nay just soloed Pygmy, and then was... Oh, maybe we won her? No. Yeah, I think... Or maybe... Oh, so close! Oh, if Pygmy died here, it's RIP. 3% HP! I'm just trying to CC Nay for what I can. Oh my god, that's so nice. That's so nice. I'm just casting Flying Blast like a madman and see Curse the kill. Coming in with the support bard with some damage. I think that's a really good 3 vs 3 fight. Okay, so what should we learn from the 3 vs 3 fight? What I wanted you to notice is firstly, number 1 is how often you should switch targets as a bard. Always CC the summoner, because summoner is very vulnerable to CCs. And number 2, when should you CC? When the target is dropping and you have a kill potential. That's when you want to CC. And thirdly, you can also, if you have good communication with your healer, you can use your Sonata or your Encouraging Surge to break CCs for your healer and help your healer. Yeah, so I think that's it, guys. Or maybe one more thing. Notice how I always try to sleep Sophie, the bard, and also try to sleep the healer. Okay guys, that's it for the bard guide. I hope you learned something. Bit different, bit more entertaining, I hope. And I'll see you guys around. Peace.